All right, we are live here with Sports Talk Jay. Jay, thank you for joining me today, man. How's it going?
Oh, it's just going fine.
Good, good. Well, looking at Tennessee this year, what is your boldest prediction for the Vols in 2024?
Playoff, I would think making it to the Final Four situation, I guess we'll call it the Final Four, would be ideal for them. I don't know, you roll the dice in a situation like that. It would be Nico being in the Heisman chase for sure. That's required. He would have to have an excellent year for us to get to the playoffs because our offense is so quarterback central, or it's just, he's the key element to our team, just the way that Hendon Hooker was. And Joe Milton, to some level, he was a good quarterback. He just wasn't where he needed to be. He was an okay. So I would say playoffs, make it to the Final Four, and just roll the dice.
What are the expectations like? The expectations at Tennessee are always to have a winner, right? Like that's just one of the places, whether they've been good or bad, the expectation is to be really, really good. But will people be satisfied with anything but the playoff this year?
Not particularly. I think 10-2 is probably where most people are. And I'm still worried about Alabama because I always will, because they're just got so loaded with talent. But without Nick Saban there anymore, I feel better about that game, especially since it's at Neyland. Georgia, man, Georgia's just a juggernaut. They're so hard to beat, and we've got to play them there, which is incredibly difficult. And they're not gonna sleep on us. They're going to be ready when we show up down there. You need to catch Georgia off guard, or you better be loaded.
When you look at the rest of the schedule, though, say you drop those two games, right? Most teams in the country are going to drop, a game or two, and say you drop the two toughest games on your schedule. The rest of the schedule sets up okay, right? NC State, Oklahoma maybe not the easiest. UF, you get that at home. I feel like Tennessee has figured out how to win in Knoxville, not so much in the Swamp. And then Kentucky as well. I feel like I'm not stretching too far to say, like, even if you dropped those big two to Bama and UGA, you could run through those other four pretty well, and then you should beat everybody else. If you lose to anybody else on the schedule, I feel like it's an issue.
Yeah. Well, there's 6 games that we shouldn't even consider losing. Oklahoma at Oklahoma is the big dog. We must beat one of those 3 teams. We've got to beat Alabama or Oklahoma or Georgia. Yeah. We've got to get that strong victory. And unfortunately, Alabama might be the easier of the two because having to go to Oklahoma or going to Georgia. So that's the minimum that we've got to do to get into the playoff is to win one of the 3. If we somehow won 2 out of 3, that would just be outstanding.
Yeah, you may end up in Atlanta at that point,
Yeah.
if you can take care of that. What are your thoughts on Nico's ceiling this year? Obviously came in and played really well in the bowl game. It's hard to know how much to take away from bowl games. I mean, Milton played really well in the bowl game the year before. What are your thoughts on Nico, so much hype, so much of a, talented and touted quarterback. What are your thoughts on what he can truly be this year?
Best case scenario, he could win the Heisman. This offense is perfect for his skill set. It could not be better. His ability to run, his ability to throw with touch, and a Josh Heupel offense really makes it easy on quarterbacks. It's very quarterback friendly. You get rid of the ball very quickly. You're focused on one side of the ball, one side of the field, and Nico has a nose for the end zone. We saw that in the first game where he started. He scored 3 touchdowns with his legs against Iowa, who is a very good front seven and a top 10 defense. And his nose wound up in that end zone 3 times with his legs and 1 time with his arm, and should have been twice. And I think that's, 4 touchdowns in your very first start against a top 10 defense he could easily wind up top 5 Heisman Trophy race.
You mentioned Heupel. What if Tennessee doesn't get to the expectations of the fan base? What if they're not able to reach that 9-10 win season? What are the fan base's thoughts on the head man in charge right now?
they're really high on him. Everybody likes him a lot. He's not made any big mistakes. You know, he was way ahead of schedule last year when we won 11 games with Hendon Hooker, or 2 years ago, after the fiasco that was Jeremy Pruitt. So he has built up a lot of goodwill. And even last year, even though it was disappointing, we went 9-4, and we know what our shortfall was there. We just didn't quite get that quarterback play that we had to have. Nico, you know, was the number one player in the country, basically, depending on which rating service you went to. And everybody that I've seen, all the coaches that I've heard from that have seen him, they're like, there is no limit. This guy could be as good as there is in college football. Will he do it his first year starting, which would be his sophomore year? It happens, and it's a perfect offense for him to do so. It's not the type of offense that requires unbelievable amount of experience. It requires talent and skill.
They went on the road last year and struggled at UF, and UF wasn't super good. I thought UF had a really good game plan, and you can always kind of sum up like, well, you're going to have a stinker here or there. Like it's really tough to go perfect right through the year. And Tennessee just admittedly just didn't look great in that game. Do you worry about travel on the road? Do you think that was kind of a one-off? Like you mentioned the Oklahoma games on the road. Obviously nobody wants to go to Athens ever. What are your thoughts on getting away from Neyland and playing this year?
Well, Florida at the Swamp at night is a very, even now is still a very difficult place. As a matter of fact, of course, y'all didn't have your quarterback, but neither did Florida. And you saw that was a battle. Yeah. When they're ready for you down there and it's at night at the Swamp, it's one of the toughest places to play. And they've had our number. There are some teams that just get your number and it sucks. So that game at Neyland, I feel really good about. The Oklahoma game, that's the one that's I have some question marks about that because I don't know how good Oklahoma really is. They're building it up though. So it'll be interesting. I'm hoping it's a day game and not like a 7:00 game because everybody will get liquored up and then it makes it more difficult.
Yeah, no doubt. Although it makes it easier to watch if you do that as well. So
yeah, true.
Jay, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Tell me a little bit about your channel, your show, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Okay. Sports Talk Jay on YouTube is pretty much it. I don't have a big social media footprint or anything like that. I just do YouTube because I enjoy it and I have fun with it. And I've been following college sports for about 4 decades, which tells you my age. And I played at UT. I was the captain of the UT golf team in the 1980s, we had wooden clubs and niblets and all that kind of stuff, but that was way back then. So I'm a VFL and I bleed orange, but I love college football and I really enjoy watching the other teams play. And with the exception of Florida, which really, I'm still upset about them costing us 1 or 2 natties, which is one of the reasons they're kind of my nemesis. The other teams, I just enjoy watching them and just a college football fan, really.
I'll tell you, watching games where your team is not involved takes all the stress out of college. It's amazing. Like I've gotten to I went to LSU Alabama. They're in Baton Rouge. I've been to Clemson, Notre Dame. Games where my team isn't playing truly is the best because then who cares, right? Like you're just like enjoying the sport. What got you into YouTube? I mean, folks, if you're not plugged in, go check out Sports Talk Jay. Vol fan or not, he does a great job, and I really do enjoy your content. What got you into it? Why'd you start? How'd you get going? And talk to us a little bit about that.
I don't know. I watched a lot of YouTube, and I was intrigued by it because you could find anything you could ever possibly want. And it was regular people talking about stuff like regular people do. And you weren't getting the spin. Like all the spin was gone. It was just regular folks. And a lot of them were super experienced and had a ton of knowledge on various things. And I just kind of fell in love with YouTube, just the experience of watching it. And then I got to thinking, I was like, man, I could probably do something like this maybe. And I had a buddy of mine that was a photographer and knew quite a bit about video and stuff like that. And he helped me get started. And I just started doing it and I just enjoyed it. I started having fun with it. And of course I'm a natural, I like comedy. I'm a comedy connoisseur of epic my whole life's been about that. So I love comedy, and I put a lot of crap into my videos that some people think are funny. I think it's funny, but some people don't.
I
But
enjoy it.
I just like messing. I like messing with stuff like that and having fun with it. And it's sports to me. It's entertainment. It's serious. It matters a lot. I mean, I freak out during games. I'll be the first to tell you. But it's also entertainment to me. And so I thought I'm going to put a channel out here that kind of does a little bit of all that.
I've had several people when I've said like, "Oh, I'm getting Sports Talk Jay on," or I'm chatting with Sports Talk Jay, or we're doing this, we're doing that, and the first thing they say is, "I love the transitions," or "I love the little clip-ins that he does from like different movies, or just little funny stuff that just, I don't know, breaks it up some." So no, I think you do a great job with it, and I really do enjoy your content. So, man, I appreciate you for hanging out tonight. I appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. And I'm excited to get you back on. Anything we can do to help, let us know. But I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I've been watching the heck out of your content. You've got this brand new channel, man, and you're doing great.
We're
Honestly.
trying, man. People love the conference realignment stuff. So,
Oh, absolutely.
and they love crapping on NCAA. So that helps too.
Yeah, I understand.